Why could Lance see what he saw? Certainly his superstitious family helped open him up to the possibility of ghosts. But our experts also note that both his childhood encounters took place in historically and psychically charged places, an old house that has seen many souls pass through its doors, and a famous murder scene. They suggest that what he may have experienced was a weight of psychic disturbances that sometimes push into our reality at vulnerable points, like the scary bedroom. Maybe the occurrences didn't frighten Lance because they related more to the location than to him specifically. As a child, Leslie the Rock didn't know about her own family's psychic background, but she was still fascinated by the supernatural from a young age.
I was very interested in reading about ghosts before anything had ever happened to me, and that was from an age of 7 maybe. I knew all about what they were, but I was like, how could this be? And then it happened. My mom was very welcoming. Like she was there with me the first time something happened. My dad was very disbelieving and very, oh my God. He still doesn't really believe, even though it just came out in the past year that his mother was a psychic, supposedly. So, and I'm just finding out now that she used to read people on the streets tarot cards and see ghosts and whatever else.
Though Leslie was interested in the spirit world, nobody else in her house was. So at age 9, when the ghosts she'd been reading about seemed to leap off the pages of her beloved books, it was difficult for her to deal with the fallout.
I've always been scared of the dark. I slept with a nightlight for most of my childhood, teens, early teens, whatever. I'm usually fine if someone else is there, and it's really weird because there were people right there in the next room, but the covers were good enough. As long as the covers were over my head, I wasn't scared. They're a protection for me, like as long as I can't see it. Even if I can hear it or feel it, I can't see it, so that feels a little bit more protective. Yeah, I've always just, from a young age, been scared, and then that thing happened to me when I was 9, and since then I've always been scared. I just turned 9 and it was Christmas time, and we had gone to Mackenzie House, my mother, my sister, and I, and we were all in the living room part of the house, and there was what's called a kissing bough, and I just remember being bored and learning about, oh yeah, they had this kissing bough and people used to stand under it. That's the last thing I remember her saying before I wandered off. And I wandered off into the hallway by myself, and I looked up the stairs. And there was just this lady just kind of hanging there. And she was up on the landing. And she looks like she was sitting, but there was nothing to sit on. And she was reaching out and looking straight into my eyes. And that was what really, like, sent me off. And I screamed and I just ran right back to my mom and I was like, Mom! And she came out and there was nothing there, of course. I can still see her in my head. She looked steel cold and scary and not a friendly presence. She seemed to be looking at me like, what are you doing here? I used to go to the library as a child and just read everything. Just one of the interests that I took to was ghosts and the supernatural and ESP or whatever else. Like, I believe I was open to it when it happened to me. Even though I wasn't wanting to see a ghost, I think reading about it, I was like, what are these and why do they show up to some people? You know, I think it's half of people. I read some statistic that half of people believe and half don't. And I guess that half that doesn't, I don't want them to think I'm some kind of loony, because I'm not. And it just, to know that people aren't believing me makes me kind of get my defenses up a little bit. I think the most disbelief has actually come from my own dad and sister. I remember my dad not believing me, and that really hurt. He was just like, oh yeah, you just made it up. I'm like, no, I didn't make it up. He's like, well, it was something that you conjured in your brain. I'm like, no, I didn't, you know. It's been like that over like the years and caused a couple of fights. think anyone could possibly see them if they're open to it, and if they are in the right place at the right time. Like maybe 4 years ago, and I was just visiting a friend that lived, I think it was on Degrassi Street. I think it was, pretty sure. These old Victorian homes, and she lived on the main floor with her roommate. So there was, I think, a back bedroom, the bathroom, a really big, huge kitchen, and then she lived in the front room. And I went to the washroom, and I was just washing my hands, and I looked into the mirror, and I saw a white, when I say figure, it just looked like a white fuzzy thing to me. Passed by in the window behind me, and just kind of like that, as if it was walking by. And then I was just like, oh, not again. And I think at this point I was just like, I don't want to see any more ghosts. I don't want anything more to happen to me. I'm done with it. I ran out to my friend, and I was crying, and I grabbed her and just, come with me, oh my God, you know, and I was freaking out. And I stuck my head out the side door, and just to make sure, because I was positive that it was really, really high off the ground, and I was, you know, there's no way somebody just walked by there. It would have made the person like 9 feet tall or something. Was it a cloud? Like, I was thinking maybe it was a cloud. There's no way it's a cloud. It's like late at night, and it's like totally like solid white kind of, even though it was see-through, it was solid. I mean, they can't hurt you, it's like I think later, but during the time when it happens, it's just a shock. Like, you're not expecting it at all. I definitely think seeing the ghost made me realize there's something beyond. But not only that, like, what is a ghost doing? You know, what realm are they in? And, you know, I don't want to be a ghost. I don't want to become a spirit. I want to hopefully go on to the real afterlife. One night when I was in a cottage in the summer, I guess, I don't know what happened, but we hadn't yet gone to sleep. All of a sudden, clang, clang, things were being moved around, all this stuff out in the kitchen. And the door was closed, and we're just like, oh my God, what's going on out there? And then my friend was convinced it was my other friend who was in the other bedroom with her boyfriend in the kitchen. We're just like, oh my God, yeah, was it her? Should we like go look, you know? And I think we waited until the noise had stopped for a couple minutes because we were too scared. And then I opened the door and there's nobody there. And then that's when I went right out, and I was just like, you know, where are you? Like, to my friend. And I went to her room and I was like, were you just in the kitchen? And she's like, no. And I'm like, oh my God. And yeah, so I just went back to bed. I don't think I'm as scared the older I get. I guess just maturing and realizing that, you know, I can't control this, even they can't hurt me. I don't think it's affected me terribly. And I wouldn't say I'm terribly scared of something else happening, but I just don't want it to keep happening. It's still quite scary, but I'm willing to confront it. I'm willing to, and that's another thing, I guess, seeing these things or having these things happen to me, I think it's made me a lot more brave. That's a positive thing.
In both Lance and Leslie's stories, the ghosts themselves are neutral, if a little alarming in the case of the Mackenzie house. But while Lance viewed his experiences in a mainly positive light, Leslie was terrified. What makes the supernatural so negative to Leslie? It's not just the encounter itself. It's the vehement reaction of her father and sister. She is torn between an apparent familial ability to see ghosts and her family's anger with her for insisting they exist. Adding to her confusion is a fear that some might label her as crazy. This stigma is partly why she doesn't want to see any more spirits, but it loses its power as Leslie becomes less afraid of the supernatural and of what skeptics might think. On the other hand, it's an interesting contrast that the tradition of superstition in Lance's household prepared him so well for the experiences he reports.
I think that strange things and unexplained things, once you get exposed to things like that, you know, you sort of set different parameters. Well, you know what, if the ghost is friendly, then that's okay. You know, where some people are like, if they can't explain it, then they're just they'll panic and they'll flip out, sort of thing. But I think that sort of prepared me for the fact that there are things that are unexplained, and, you know, it's just the way the world is.
I don't think I'm going to go search for them, but it's very big like kind of pull to do it, but I never really follow through. Maybe if I get totally not scared, I would try it again. But I know I've seen these things. I know these things have happened, so don't disbelieve me, you know? That's my attitude, is just, your loss.
Man ships himself home, avoids airfare.
Urban legends.
Streaker's getaway car stolen.
Tales told and retold forever.
One night stand costs man kidney.
But are they real or man-made myths?
Aviator flies high in lawn chair.
At last, the truth will be told. Urban legends. Tuesdays and Thursdays at 11, only on Bio.